Don't leave me hanging. It's go time.
Hey everybody, it's Josh Sub, aka AskJoshy on YouTube, and today we have a game between QXC, the purple Terran, over here on the left side of Lost Temple, and he is playing against MSV, the orange Terran, up here on the top side. And this is game one of a best of 5. These are actually the finals of the Gosu Coaching Weekly Tournament number 5. The winner of this best of 5 will receive a $100 prize. And QXC was actually the winner of Gosu Coaching Weekly number 4, so he has a chance here to have a repeat performance. And his opponent MSV is actually relatively unknown, but you do have to beat quite a lot of good players in order to get to the finals of one of these Gosu Coaching Weekly tournaments. So hopefully MSV will give us some great games here in this best of 5, and I will be casting all of the series here, so you will not miss out. And MSV building that supply depot very close to home, as is QXC. The reason they can do this is, they build it just out of the way of these SCVs so that they continue mining the whole time without interruption, and then you just sink the supply depot into the ground so that you don't interrupt your Vespine mining later on, and both players sinking that supply depot right away. Such good players. And QXC, of course, we all know and love. He is a member of Root Gaming, one of the best Terran players on Root Gaming, is one of the only Terran players on Root Gaming, but he has constructed his own build order tester, which you may have seen in one of Day 9's dailies. He has made a series of micromanagement challenges for use map settings. One of them, for example, you're a ghost and you have to practice decloaking enemies with EMP shots, which is great for Terran players to practice up on that, trying to catch observers or banshees or Dark Templar or whatever. And both players throwing up their barracks and gas at the same time, actually both finishing around the same time as well, and both players have scouted out the other very quickly in their first attempt, so no time lost trying to scout out the other player. There are orbital commands now coming in for both players as well, so they are very, very in step right now, both building the exact same things at the exact same time. MSV and QXC both building one Marine to start off, and yeah, so they are at close running spawns as opposed to air spawns, so there will be a lot of contention over this middle part of the map here with the Xel'Naga Watchtower, regardless of what builds the players choose to do. And MSV building another supply depot right there in the way of that Vespine, just going to be able to sink it again. And that Mule coming down actually for both players right on time, so both players actually still mirroring each other. QXC is getting his factory dropped, as is MSV, but QXC is going to build another Marine, and it looks like if we look at the production tab, MSV is going to be first to build a second refinery and then a Marine, but QXC is right on top of it too. So both players building the exact same buildings, the exact same time, and the exact same units at the exact same time. QXC is going to poke his head in over here. But anyway, these two gases coming in for both players sort of hint at, a lot of mech or air play, since neither player dropped a second barracks or any add-ons for their barracks, no tech labs or reactors. I'm curious to see what this SCV is going to do here, but either way, both players going to go for something a little more gas intensive. MSV actually throwing down an armory right here behind his mineral line, and if we look at the production tab, it looks like QXC is getting a starport. Still curious to see if MSV is going to take out this SCV. He does kill the SCV, but QXC is able to cancel that bunker in time, so he doesn't really lose much except for an SCV. And the starport is coming in right here for QXC. So seeing a little divergence in build orders finally. Oh, this is big. QXC just blew a scanner sweep to see what MSV is doing, but there was no tech lab there on this factory by the time he scanned, or sweeped, or whatever you want to call it. Skinner sweeped, and he also missed this armory here in the back of MSV's mineral line, so QXC still sort of in the dark, and it looks like we've got 6 Marines for QXC moving up against 4 Marines and a Hellion. A lot of good Hellion micro here, able to keep that Hellion alive in the red, and looks like these forces of MSV are going to be able to clear out the few Marines that QXC had, but not before QXC kills off that Hellion. MSV going to keep walking on down the line into QXC's natural, sees there's nothing there, going to try and head up the ramp, but it looks like QXC has pulled off 6 SCVs to try and slow these guys down, keeping enough time to get that tank out of the factory or the Viking out of the starport, but it looks like QXC is going to lose 4 SCVs there, and MSV losing no Marines. Definitely not a good trade-off for QXC, but this tank does pop out in perfect position to blow the heads off of these 2 Marines, possibly even this third one. Looks like he is going to outrange the tank. There's no siege mode finished just yet, or even started for that matter, but this Viking could land and kill this Marine. He's only got 15 health left and 6 kills. Wow, hero Marine. But the Viking instead turns around and heads the other way. MSV getting a few reinforcements, going to try and hold on to this middle ground for as long as possible. QXC sending 2 more Marines to their death, basically. Free kill for MSV, not much to mention there, but now MSV's real force has arrived, the Thor, and to this point QXC still, if I take his vision, still has not seen that armory, and I believe still has not seen a Thor anywhere, so he is going to be taken a little off guard here with just a couple of tanks and a Marine. If these SCVs are managed wisely, this Thor can stay along for a very, very long time, especially with some Marines here to draw some fire as well. But QXC retreating now into the back of his base. He has 1 Viking, 2 tanks, and a Marine to try and hold this off. He's getting free shots off on these Marines. The Marines go down very quickly to these tanks. These SCVs are sort of out of place for MSV. I don't know what he's really doing. The Thor shooting at really nothing in particular, forced to retreat without his SCV repair force, and these SCVs kind of getting in the way of these tanks and walking Vikings, but you know, MSV should be glad that he got to save that huge resource hog in that Thor, a second one now on the field as well. But even though that push didn't really do anything for MSV, he did get enough time to drop a command center, and QXC knows now what he's up against. It seems to be Thors and Marines, so he's going to have to start building a little bit of a better counter to that. You know, Mass Vikings doesn't really do much against Marines and Thors unless they land, in which case they're even more prone to the much stronger ground attacks of the Thor. But it looks like a ground battle is now going to take place for this watchtower. QXC does have siege mode completed, so he's going to be able to outrange these Thors if he can find a good enough spot to siege up. Right there he chooses his spot and does not get any blasts off immediately, but MSV, you know, following right behind, has getting some siege tanks of his own. He's already got siege mode completed as well. All these Vikings landing so that they can do some damage to the Thors instead of just having the Thors shoot away at them freely. Looks like 1 Thor is going to go down. MSV able to get a blast off or 2 on these walking Vikings, but nothing major. QXC already has SCVs in place, repairing away. He's got his set to auto repair. So now MSV kind of in a bad position. He's got, oh, that scanner sweep was a total bust. There's nothing there. QXC losing some energy for that, but he is going to drop a command center of his own over here at this natural. Anyway, MSV sort of behind right now, only has 2 tanks and 1 Thor out on the field, while QXC, you know, floating around with these Vikings, trying to gain vision for these siege tanks to hit at maximum range. MSV doing a good job to stay just outside of range. He may or may not lose this Viking just by poking his head in a little too far. The Thor gets a couple of free shots, but that Viking does go down for MSV, and it looks like he keeps wandering into this siege tank fire, unfortunately. But MSV now does have an SCV of his own on the scene to try and repair up this Thor. Another siege tank loss for MSV. It looks like MSV is being rather careless with his units here in the middle. He needs to pay a little more attention so he doesn't just give QXC, you know, this huge advantage. QXC actually going to start leapfrogging his siege tanks to inch closer and closer and basically seal off this whole area so that MSV is not able to move out, except for, you know, maybe some medevacs later on. But MSV now building another starport as well as a starport on this reactor to try and keep up in the air battle. It looks like he's got 3 Vikings already. 2 starports will definitely be able to keep up with this single reactor starport of QXC, and QXC adding on 2 more barracks now, so he's going to start transitioning into probably Marauders and Marines to help out with that siege tank volley.